Now, some people are asking, what exactly is China doing in Africa? What's your take on that?
Western countries have come to Africa for centuries to rob Africa of its resources. They should be admitting what they've done. Some are rich because of the resources they took from Africa. They never thought of helping Africa to develop. They subjugated Africa. They took the political power, economic power, and then made us, therefore, socially, to have no power at all. We had to fight to liberate ourselves. They were never here to help. They were here to rob. After decolonization, they continued to do so. They could no longer use political power. They influenced it indirectly, but they held on to the economic levers of these countries. They were dominating. They were benefiting. They were doing nothing to help us. They created banks that were instruments of subjugating us. They would say, for an example, to the IMF, when the IMF will say, my country is in trouble, can you help? It will put conditions that will put you in a worse situation than before. So it was not helping. What China is doing, China is coming and saying, here we are. We know where you come from. We are here to work with you. For the first time, when China came here, highways began to emerge in the continent of Africa that were never there when they were here all the time. China is working with us. FOCAC is one example that China as a country is ready to sit down and discuss how do we help, how do we relate to one another. And perhaps many other FOCAC summits that took place before, people were not very clear. This FOCAC that has taken place here in South Africa has made matters to be more clearer than any other time. The kind of pledges that China has made and the kind of relations that it has with different countries. China is not here to rob or to colonize. It's here to help Africa develop. President Xi Jinping said it himself. We need to develop together. We are together making progress. These are the issues. For an example, the issue of infrastructure, energy, many others. Nobody took care of these matters. Even if you said to them, we need a road, they never came. If you talk to China, China says, let us come. Let us make the roads. Now, it is even voting money so that we can quicken the decision that has been taken by the AU to create the infrastructure continental. China says that we have taken that decision. Here are the resources for that. Energy, we are together. They are just feeling they are being replaced because they were here doing nothing for the people here, doing something for themselves. China is coming to help. As it helped us in the struggle to liberate ourselves from them, it is now helping us to develop so that we can be economically independent, stand on our own, take our own decisions.
We are members of the Commonwealth. We have no problem. But for somebody to say, have a problem with China, why are you dealing with China? You don't know why? China was supporting me when you were disturbing me. Have you forgotten? China has never been a problem to us. Or Russia, modern Russia. Russia actually never, neither. Russia made their own mistakes, which is another matter I will comment at the end. But these people have no problem with them at all. History has no problem with these people at all, historically. Do you hear that? Can you put it on the Voice of, you said what? Voice of America?
Voice of America, yes.
Yes. How can you have a problem with somebody whom you have never had a problem? And yet you have forgiven the one who actually you had a problem with. We're forgiven the 40 million, these black people in the US. How did they go there? In Brazil, all over the place, black people. We have forgiven all those. Why would anybody want us to have a problem with somebody we have never had a problem with?
Many African countries quietly actually support Russia. And they support Russia out of historical reasons. That at critical moments during the struggle for independence, it is the Russians who came out to support those who are fighting for independence. The Russians who are present in Congo, the Russians who are present during the struggle in South Africa, the Russians who are present in Mozambique, the Russians who are present in Angola, the Russians who are present in Guinea-Bissau, and therefore sentimentally Africans support Russia. But no matter who we support, my own view is that war has no eyes. The net effect is that those who are not responsible for the war end up suffering. And I hope that this war, once it's settled, will send a clear message also to the Western world that their hegemonic approach to world affairs must come to an end, and that the era of unilateralism and manipulation of multilateral institutions must stop, and the approach to world affairs must be collegiate through the UN. If they don't do that, then the Western world will find itself in a very difficult position, and the only thing that will protect them from the rest of the world is that they have nuclear weapons which they can unleash upon the rest of the world. And the writing is on the wall.
States with Africa. And what I'm hearing from you is, frankly, a lot of disappointment and a lot of pessimism about what may come out of this summit.
Well, the point of the matter is already nothing is going to come out of it because it is a one-sided conversation.
Right.
Where is the agenda? The agenda should have been published way in advance. The African leaders should have been given an opportunity to also state their position so they can come up with an African position that can then be discussed alongside the American position. So the fact that it is a one-sided conversation, that is yet going to be another useless meeting with no outcomes. But again, I'm going to keep emphasizing the reason this is happening is because there is a disrespect for the Africans. There is a general feeling that we don't need to hear from the Africans. Their opinions do not matter. That wherein lies the problem. Why were the Africans not consulted? Why were the Africans not part of an agenda? Why was there not even an agenda like what happened during the FOCAC meeting with China? Those are some basic issues. No head of state. President Biden would not pick up and go to meet with any other leader in the world without an agenda. That simply doesn't happen.
Right.
So what makes the US think that they can engage African leaders without an agenda? Come to Washington, let me tell you what I want to do for you. Come to Washington, let me tell you what you need to do in your country. That game is an old game.
Right.
It's not going to work anymore.
Today, why things are happening in different ways, because over 2 decades, Russia, China, and the West have been in Africa, have their dominance in Africa, but in different ways. Because how Russia and China treated Africa was not the same as how the West, like US, America, and Europe, in France, and all those countries treated Africa. They treated Africa differently, whereby now it came to happen that now the world, or the African continent, and the African leaders decided, many of them, that they want to deal with Russia and China, and this has bring a different perspectives to the Westerners, like America and France, because they feel like when they allow this to happen, when they continue watching the influence of China and Russia growing in Africa, maybe they are going to lose. they are going to lose. And now, this is not a dream, this is not a target, but this is something that is happening because Africans themselves, they don't want to associate more with Westerners. That's why some of the African leaders today, they are heading to the West. So this is something that is like a Cold War.
For the first time, we came across white people who treated us as equal beings. Russia is our friend. Our friend's enemy is our enemy. By default, we are on the side of Russia. And to us, Ukraine is what we call a sellout.
This is like a Cold War. And before I go deeper, let me confirm something here. China's influence in Africa, economic power. China has become Africa's biggest trading partner, funding major infrastructure projects, roads, railways, ports, and power plants. Through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative. And loan and investment. Many African countries turn to China for financing because it often offers loans with fewer political conditions than Western institutions like the World Bank and IMF. Technology and infrastructure. Chinese companies are involved in telecoms, e.g. Huawei, ZTE, and mining and construction, giving China a strong presence in critical sectors. Now, Westerners fear the US and Europe worry that this gives China both economic leverage and political influence, possibly leading to African countries siding with China on global issues. So before, despite all that is happening today, when the West are looking to the influence of China and Russia in Africa and feeling like it's a threat, it is a threat to them, they know the reason. They know the reason that how China is dealing with Africa and Russia is a very totally different as how they have been dealing to Africa. Because when the West have been coming here to offer things like loan, they have been offering loans in an institutions through institutions like IMF and the World Bank. But whenever they offer these loans, they have tough political conditions, whereby you find that when they give out loans, then it means that they're offering you a loan, but they are coming to hold your mineral sites. They are offering you a loan, but they are holding you your ports, your airport, your ports, your airports, the best assets that you have in your countries, and you find yourselves that they are imposing more interest in your loan, whereby they must make sure that they hold you so that you can take loan by paying this loan. So by the time you are about to end up paying this loan, they will already benefited much in your assets, in your country resources. And by the time you are about to end up paying this loan, they will owe to top up more loan, so that you find that the country is in a debt always. So the money that the country is collecting in the term of revenues is not able to help the country's economy. The money that they are offering you, they have tough conditions that you cannot use this money to build roads. You can't use this money to build the hospitals. So that you have the loans, but your infrastructure are very poor. So in a way that they give you loan, but still you need them to come and build your roads, to come and build your schools. So all these things that they are still coming to do, they are still in the name of debts. So tell me, when did your country come to free from these loans? When did your country come to start to develop because they are collecting money from the citizens?
IMF and World Bank are economic enslavers. What they are designed to do is to ensure that we are in a perpetual state of debt. You can never get out of IMF and Bretton Woods institutions generally, because they want to ensure that they control your economy, and when they control your economy, they control your politics. That as long as we are dependent on IMF and World Bank, Our economies are simply going to be shadow economies of the American economy. That's the tough way that the West have been dealing with the Africa. So when China and Russia comes in to deal with Africa, they do it differently. They do it differently, whereby you find that they're not only concerned in these loans, but they're offering much development in African countries. We have seen in different countries here, in many countries of Africa, China has built many roads, many bridges. They have built many power plants. Same to Russia. Russia have strongly supported the African countries in the military system. So while the Westerners have been fighting on how to destroy Africa, while they benefit, the side of Russia and China have been fighting on how to strengthen Africa, how to make Africa stronger, how to build it, and how to make it to be independent, so that even if they come to invest their businesses here, even without their presence, their business are well, and they're well doing, they're well protected with the African security system alone.
We are members of the Commonwealth. We have no problem. But for somebody to say, have a problem with China, why are you dealing with China? You don't know why? China was supporting me when you were disturbing me.
So that's the difference. And now today, because many African leaders have awakened and they're trying to vary which side to go. And many are heading to West, ditching many are heading to East, ditching the West. That's the worry and the problem to the Westerners. So that's why they're in fear of the West, of the East influence in Africa. They're very, very, very in much fear. But today, many of the people, maybe from France, America, wherever they see all this happening, they only look up to China. They only look towards China and Russia as a threat, but not looking towards themselves and try to ask themselves questions why this is happening. Because these people have been in Africa for so long, centuries over centuries. All this time, all this time long, all that they have been doing is to exploit Africa, destroy. But they never have any interest of building African continent. They never have any good interest towards African continent. They are only interested in the minerals, in our resources. So that's how they are. That's who they are. They have been always coming here to introduce their policies. They give democracy to Africa. Democracy that binds us not to do a lot of things. Democracy that don't allow us to stand by ourselves. The democracy that don't give us the rights to come out with maybe our inventions. While China and Russia are even ready to make Africa start to develop their own weapons, like nuclear weapons. So the West have been there for so long in Africa, but all that they have been doing is just to make sure that Africa don't rise up.
We own the facts. We own the facts. We know exactly what the Chinese Communist Party is doing, and to some degree what the Russian Federation is doing and their propaganda operations, but we don't own the narrative.
So that they can keep on fighting, dominating, controlling, and looting African continent. That's why today you see, after France have been rejected from their colonies, today France is suffering. France today is not the same. Same to the entire Europe, same to Britain, same to America. They are not, because all that they have been coming to take from Africa, the Africans themselves today are in charge, and they are not ready to give it out. So, the Russia's influence, military and security. Russia's approach is more about defense cooperation and security partnership. In some countries like Mali, Sudan, or the Central African Republic, Russian mercenaries and military advisors have replaced Western troops. Political support. Russia often offers regimes diplomatic backing without demanding democratic reforms. A contrast of Western to Western conditionalities. disinformation and diplomacy. Russia uses media and online influence campaign to portray itself as an anti-colonial ally of African against Western dominance. So, in short, the West sees this as undermining its security and democratic agenda and fear Russia might use African alliances to access resources, military bases, or UN votes. And now, why the West warns against... Before I go there, I've tried to show you the influence of Russia in Africa. What are their main agendas? Because I came across several videos where the people have been saying that Russia and China are just pretending because they're just the same like the West. They're all of them, their interest is about the African resources. Russia never colonized Africa. China never colonized Africa, despite they had that capability. They have that authority to come and colonize Africa. And even today, they still have that power to come and take over Africa. But why are not they interested? Because Russia and China had their own agendas. They were busy fighting on to build their own, to strengthen themselves first before anything else. And that's why today you see, even without African resources, without Africa, Russia and China are still strong. They are still standing. Not compared to the country like West. Without Africa, they cannot stand. They cannot survive.
So Russia and China are friends of African countries because there is a wild cat, and that wild cat is eating our chicken. We'll deal with Russia when the wild cat is gone. That is the attitude of African countries, and I think that the engagement that we have, African countries have with Russia and China are a lot more respectful. Russia is not coming arrogantly like Europe and America does. China is not coming arrogantly like Europe and America do.
So they have been here in Africa for so long, Russia and China, but all that time they never had that idea of control of colonizing Africa, while they have everything that makes them to do that. The West fear this because they feel like Russia is trying to strengthen the security cooperation of Africa. They are cooperating their military way with the African security system, which is giving the West a sleepless night because they feel like Russia is undermining their security system that they introduced in Africa. And now, we as Africans, we at this time saying that we no longer need the West security system because this security system was only installed here in Africa to take Africa down, to make sure that African security system will never be strong. They are only here to weaken the African security system so that they can have that authority to rule over them, to control them, and to monitor everything that Africa is doing. That's why you see today the West are in fear, much fear about the West, about the East influence in Africa. But again, we are so lucky today that the people who are standing with us today are very strong, because Russia is very strong, China is very strong, both in economically, in politically, and in everything. America cannot today just wake up and go to fight Russia. They cannot wake up in the morning, today in the morning, and go to fight China, because they all have the same. They are all strong. They fear each other. It's not, they cannot just play with Russia and China just the way they played with Africa, because they bring all this play in Africa because they know that Africa doesn't have anything to defend itself. They know that Africa cannot come and threaten them. They know that Africa is not able to defend itself against them. So, let me add something here. When Westerners or Western officials warn African countries about Russia and occasionally China, they usually give reasons like debt traps, warning the Chinese loans could create unsustainable debt, resource exploitation, claiming both powers take raw materials without fair benefit to locals, democratic erosions, saying Russia's model of authoritarian support can weaken democracy and stability. Strategic competition. Ultimately, they don't want to lose influence or access in Africa, whether in trade, security, or diplomacy. Now, we as Africans, we were made to believe that Russia and China were not good people, but we were told only to believe the Westerners. We were only told to believe in France, in America, in Britain, in UK. But in those processes, that's when Africa has been losing every day, because democracy is being preached here in Africa by the Westerners. They're the one who introduced here democracy, but they are not using the same democracy to their own countries. They told us that Russia and China are very dangerous to Africa. But in the history, we know that China and Russia never have had the hand in the deaths and the genocides of peoples in Africa. But the Westerners have. France, Belgium, America, Britain, they're the one who are concerned in every genocide in Africa. They killed millions of people. They destroyed African continent. They have been exploiting Africa over centuries. They're the one who manipulated Africa. They're the one even today still controlling and holding African basic resources. Today, the country like Congo, Sudan are all having all this problem because of America, because of France, because of Belgium. Haiti today is suffering because of the France influence, because they never wanted to see Africa standing by itself. When the Haitian king defeated the king of Belgium, of France, they never allowed that to happen, because Haiti was the first country to get independence. But France never agreed to that incident. That's why they fight back hard with Haiti, asking them to pay for France a reparation, which made the economy of Haiti to collapse. And from that time, Haiti has never been the same. And up to this time, in Haiti, massive killings are all over every day. This is a damage that was created by France and the Europe in large. So they told us, they made us to believe that all these other people are bad. So we only needed to believe in them, while they are the one and the reason of every problem here in Africa. That's not allowed. We are not going to allow this. All that was happened in Africa, all that has been done, all the manipulation, all the genocide, all the atrocities that has happened, we say that it's okay. We cannot make it to look like nothing happened. We cannot not make it to be undone. We agree of everything, but again, we are not ready to go back to that life. We as Africans today, we are not in a point of being told what to do, who to associate with. We have awakened up, and we know who to deal with, who to trade with, who to give out our resources. So the better for the West to look other way on how to deal with the issues, because at this time, the Africans today are in charge of their own resources. That's why today you see, during the time of Ibrahim Traore, they even sent Michael Langley to come and destroy Ibrahim Traore, claiming and putting more allegations that Traore is using the country's resources to protect himself and to fund his military. But again, Traore came out boldly asking them, this gold belongs to the Burkina Faso. He is the leader of country of Burkina Faso. He has the authority over the richness and the resources and everything from that country, because he is the leader of that country. And this is an example of every African and African leaders, that whatever we are having in our countries, we are the owner of these people, of all. And we are the people to give out orders and have authorities over our richness, but not other people to come and dictate to us, tell us what to do and who to give out, to give it out. So all this fear of West with the influence of France and China in Africa, they know what the problem is. They know the source of everything, because they know that they created this. But today, because they failed to sustain all this, they're coming out to put accusation in other people. In short, the West fear China and Russia growing influence in Africa because it weakens Western geopolitical control and access. It weakens Western geopolitical control and access. They know well that if they allow China and Russia to access or to influence fully here in Africa, they will not have a space. They will not have that authority again to control over Africa. And this is not something that will come to happen, but this is something that's happening today. Because today, already, the West have lost. France today is no longer having the dominance in Africa, because all its colonies, they are saying no to France, no to France, no to France. America the same. Now, it shifts global alliances. It offers African countries alternative partners that don't rely on Western systems. But from Africa's view, the competition can be both an opportunity and a risk, depending on how wisely it's managed. And we as Africans at this time, we are so wise enough to know that we are doing good or we are messing up. But this time, I don't feel if there is a point that Africans are messing up, because despite all this war and this competition, Africa still today is fighting on how to stand by itself. We are fighting on how to strengthen Africa and stand by ourselves first before we start to associate other people. We are in a point of today standing up, fighting with our own problems without associating other people. Because the people that we have been going to give out or explain our problems are the one who created all these problems. And they created this knowing that we will need them. That's why they have been there. They cause our problems. They come back as helper. But due to that process, they keep on destroying, looting, and stealing everything from Africa. I have taken much of your time. Kindly, I will end there. And today Africa is awakening. Today Africa is awake. The African youths are rising, and we are reclaiming what we believe it belongs to us. And we are here to protect everything that we believe it for us. But we are not ready again today to make other people take advantage in Africa because they feel like they are the only people who can make us survive. We have come to realize that without us, they cannot survive. But not other way around as how they used to tell us that we cannot survive without them. So, this for the black people, wherever you're watching from, I welcome you to the comment section so that you can share your ideas. You can put out your views so that we can keep on discussing and really know what is supposed to be done for the African unity, for the African agenda of 2063 African unity to be achieved. Here we are speaking about the dream and the agenda of Kwame Nkrumah and Malcolm X, because their agenda was one, the unity of Africa. Just tell me what to have the comment section. Let's meet on the next episode. Don't forget to come back, leave a comment, share, like. If you are new here, consider subscribing. Join my membership too, so that we can keep on moving together as we advocate and preach the unity of motherland Africa. Until next time, we come and do the same. Thank you very much and be blessed. Waiting from. Thank you for being here and supporting every day. I love you and appreciate your support.